In 2017, Ontario, led by Premier Kathleen Wynne, introduced a cap-and-trade system to reduce GHG emissions. This system, which capped emissions and allowed trading of allowances, raised $2.9 billion. Now, while praised for its environmental goals, critics argued it increased costs for businesses and consumers. The program was dismantled by Doug Ford's government in 2018, sparking debate on the effectiveness of carbon pricing in general. In this segment, we'll explore the history, the impact, and ongoing debate surrounding the cap-and-trade system. One quick question I do have, though. The carbon tax segment that we just did before, the fund is supposed to be raised now to $170 per ton by 2030.
Right.
Yeah.
To make it effective, to make the carbon tax effective, to have people stop emitting so much carbon, would it make sense to get to that 170 per ton?
Well, no, here's why. Because the thing is, the carbon tax, when it's applied to citizens, is applied to your gasoline and heating your home. Those are things you can't limit. You're going to run out of gas, or you're going to freeze to death because Canada's
But we will find other ways, and the $170 per ton is designed to make us find other ways.
But the thing is we can't. Those aren't levers we can pull, and the regular citizen can't find a gasoline alternative or an energy alternative at
You're
the home.
saying it's not available?
No, because even if you used an EV, you got to plug it in at home. There's the energy.
So the technology is not necessarily
Correct.
there to go right to 170.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So, Anthony, explain the cap and trade for somebody who's 12 years old.
Somebody, oh my God, someone who's 12 years old? Here's the easiest way to say it. We actually have an emission standard set with an environmental program, which I love because that is an attainable thing to accomplish.
Okay, so basically, from what I understand, and cut me off if I'm wrong or if I'm going on a tangent.
We get to cut you off now?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, the cap and trade system, from what I understand, is when a government says you can place this or put this many emissions in the air, okay? But it's a blanket rule. It's not based on the production of, or the output. It's not relative to the current company's output. It's just a blanket rule of this many emissions. Anything over, you can buy a permit. Am I correct? Kind of.
I think it works like it's a credit system.
Yes. Credit
It works like a credit system. So you burn
buy credits.
you burn above, you buy it, you reinvest it back in your business. So if you're burning, let's say one of your generators is run on coal fire, you're burning over the limit. You get that money back, you invest in, like, let's say an electric furnace, which doesn't emit as much. That brings your emissions down. And then there's a whole trade program where you can trade your credits to another company, they buy it, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. So and it kind of creates like a market in some way.
It's a circular economy within itself.
But this is why they picked the carbon tax. You see how we're doing this?
No.
But the public would not.
But the public shouldn't be involved in this. The cap and trade program could have stayed within industry where it belongs. Because that's where the lion's share of our emissions are
But wouldn't that be passed down to the consumer anyways? Like, I feel like any carbon pricing is passed down to the consumer at the end of the day.
But this is why cap and trade is good. If you do a good job of reducing emissions, right, what you do is you can sell your credits, so you have more money on your bottom line. So there's no cost to pass on to the consumer. And for the companies that had to buy your credits, if they try to charge you, competition will say, because those companies that did not need them, it would keep the price down. That's why it's a good system.
Okay, so why did we not nationalize it?
Because Tom Mulcair wasn't elected and Trudeau was. That's why. Because that was on the NDP platform in 2015 was cap and trade because we knew it worked.
You made an interesting point to say that it wasn't simply understood by the public, whereas the carbon tax is.
Because it's easy. Price on
carbon.
Which
in some way I agree with.
No, it is. No, it is so much easier to explain a price on carbon than it is cap and trade.
Do you believe that citizens of Canada would prefer to be confused or pay a carbon tax? If you're like, hey guys, we're gonna explain cap and trade to you. If you understand it, you're good to go. If you don't, we're gonna give you a carbon tax that makes no sense.
So
what do you want to do?
So for sake of time, one thing I'm curious that you said it's a great thing about creating a circular economy.
Yes.
What I'm trying to understand is the government still sets the price.
They do.
So does that not give us some form of challenges? Like the government setting the price on the allowances and the credits?
It does. And that's where they have
to manage it.
That's the balance between politics and industry. And you have to figure that out. And then they have to see how that is going to affect the rest of the economy, for sure. But the thing is, if this is done properly, eventually they're not even needed, right? Because if everyone is reducing their emissions equally over time, eventually you don't even need the cap and trade system.
So what happens if we run out of credits or permits?
They just continue to pay the government more money. There's an infinite supply.
But then eventually the companies just pass the penalties that they pay down to the consumer, so they don't even really pay the penalties.
Can I just add this, because this is where him and I agree. And who says conservatives and liberals can't come together on this? Because it's true. It's a good thing. And the best thing he said was economic levers. And that always stayed in my head from our last conversation. Businesses can pull those economic levers and consumers can't. So why not? Yes. Good luck finding a government that can write the memo to explain that to the public, the cap and trade system. But I like it better because more of the industry is in control and the government is involved in setting the prices. And we have, the most important thing is an emissions standard. And that's what we need in this country.
One thing I will make clear is the European Union, since 2005, I believe, has actually had this cap and trade system, and it's actually it's actually allowed us to reduce our emissions by 35%, the European Union.
Super
So
effective.
it does seem like it's effective.
Something I've endorsed on this show 5 times.
All right,
Thank you.
start your campaign journey soon. Okay, we'll be right back with carbon rebates, something that's insanely hot right now. I'm excited to talk about it.